You ever have one of those nights where the silence itself feels wrong? Not peaceful, but heavy, like the air is holding its breath, waiting. That was our Saturday. Quiet, too quiet. Not the kind that soothes you, but the kind that warns you. Like something was coming, and it wouldn't be knocking politely. We live out in the suburbs, northern Denton County. Calm, tree-lined streets, kids on scooters, the occasional barbecue smoke floating on the breeze. The kind of place where dogs bark at squirrels and everyone waves, never suspecting that one night, our garage would become the front line of something far more serious than missing lawn chairs. I'm Grant Mallister, retired Air Force engineer. 32 years building secure communication systems for classified ops. My idea of retirement? Reinforcing our home, not because I'm paranoid, but because I know that threats don't wear uniforms anymore. Sometimes they ride in golf carts and flash badges they printed at home. That night, my wife Carla had just pulled a cinnamon pie from the oven. Our youngest son Ben was downstairs working on a robotics frame for school. And our oldest, Noah 25, former police, still limping from a line-of-duty injury, was visiting for the weekend. I was in my usual evening rhythm, checking cameras, reviewing sensor logs, every door locked. But something felt off. Maybe it was the stillness. Maybe the lack of passing cars. Or maybe it was old instinct tapping on my shoulder, whispering, "Watch close." At 10:14 p.m., I heard it. A metallic scrape, low and dragging, like a crowbar scraping concrete. Carla sat upright. "Did you hear that?" she asked. I didn't answer. I was already moving. I tossed my tablet onto the counter, flipped the wall panel to live feed. 3 men, all in black uniforms. HOA security in bold white letters, but no badges, no HOA tags, no patrol vehicle. One had a crowbar. Another was crouched by the old garage keypad, the one we disconnected months ago. The third stood back, walkie clipped to his vest, scanning the street like a lookout. That's when I knew this wasn't an inspection. This was an operation. And their target, my garage. What they didn't know was that inside, behind a false wall and a biometric safe, sat a prototype encryption modules, something I developed under federal contract. A CRID, classified. Designed to make drone fleet comms vanish from enemy sensors. It wasn't supposed to be here long, but with transport delays, our home became its temporary vault. I didn't panic. I executed. Silent alarm activated. Local PD alerted. I opened the emergency cabinet by the kitchen and grabbed the contingency radio. "Carla," I said, "take Ben to the basement. Lock it down." No hesitation. She nodded, grabbed our son, vanished below. "Noah," I called. He met me in the hallway, already grabbing his bag. "To clean registered Glock pistols." "Where?" he asked. "Garage," I said. "No shots unless necessary." "Got it," he replied. "Left side, you take right." We didn't need more words. We'd trained for this. Drills, routines. This was our ground, and nobody was taking anything without resistance. The pounding on the garage door intensified, deliberate, mechanical. They weren't rushing. They were skilled. Each hit warped the steel, not broken, but groaning under pressure. I posted up behind the archway near the garage access. Noah crouched by the kitchen island, both pistols drawn but low. Lights shifted to flood mode. Cameras switched to high race record. Full lockdown, engaged. Then the hinge snapped. Screech. One boot crossed the threshold. Black uniform, masked face, no hesitation. He stepped in and that's when Noah moved. A fast pivot, clean kick to the gut sent. The man flying backward, crashing into the frame. Another rushed in behind, weapon drawn, fired. Missed bullet slammed the ceiling beam. Noah had already moved, raised his right-hand Glock, fired one clean round non-lethal straight to center mass. The second intruder dropped, groaning. I stayed at the hallway, scanning. No sign of the third. Noah froze, eyes scanning the entry. One man groaning, the other writhing and yelling about his arm. But there was no third man, and I knew what that meant. Flanking. It's classic breach tactics. I slipped through the back hallway, exited through the rear utility gate, and took cover in the hedges. Silent, waiting. Then I heard it leaves rustling, a boot slipping on wet mulch, the whisper of someone who thought they were quiet. I pressed the remote clip on my vest. Snap, pop, a scream. The third man hit the ground, ankle caught in a repurposed coyote tension trap. He reached for his belt, but I stepped out of the shadows, weapon drawn. "Who sent you?" I asked. He froze. "We're doing rounds," he stammered. I shook my head. "No one does patrols like this." You bypassed the keypad, came straight for the only unblinded access point, went straight to the garage. That's not a patrol. That's a mission. His eyes told me everything. Trained, hired, paid. He wasn't going to say more. He didn't have to. Noah circled around, his limp barely noticeable in the adrenaline. "This the third?" he asked. I nodded. We zip-corded him and dragged him to the front, seating him with the others. 2 injured. 1 breathing heavy. 9 minutes later, the first squad car pulled in. Officers exited cautiously, cruiser lights sweeping across the torn garage door and the restrained men on our driveway. "What is this?" the lead officer asked. "Home defense," I said calmly. "All recorded, every angle, audio visuals, timestamps." I handed over a USB drive. Left 1 federal warrant in Arizona, middle implicated in HOA scams in Austin. Third, no ID, no excuse. The officer's partner checked a tablet. Seconds later, his expression changed. "They're flagged. All 3, connected to a private security contractor's Sentry Solutions." I met Noah's eyes. He nodded. Sentry folded 2 years ago. License revoked for surveillance violations on U.S. soil. The officers didn't argue. They just started calling it in. That night didn't end with answers, but it ended in control. No shots fired at us, no lives lost, and 3 men in cuffs, waiting for federal pickup. But what still chills me is what came next. 2 days later, a black SUV with no plates pulled into our driveway. The man who stepped out didn't flash a badge, didn't need to. I recognized the bearing. Government, high level. No uniform, but all authority. He sat at our kitchen table, no small talk. Just truths. Asked 1 question. "Is the prototype intact?" I said, "Yes. Still cold, still sealed." He didn't ask to see it. Instead, he laid out DOSIUS encrypted chats, wire transfers, recruitment records. The men were hired through ghost networks, paid via shell firms tied to a Macau front. Their mission? Retrieve the encryption module within 1 hour of breach. 7-figure bounty. No trace. It wasn't theft, it was extraction. Sponsored by a flagged Beijing industrial firm known for tech espionage. That's when I realized we weren't just guarding our home. We were holding the line between national secrets and international theft. Alone, the next morning, we relocated under full military escort. Lockdown protocol. The prototype is gone now, secured far from civilian hands. But the quiet never really came back. A week later, Noah received a letter from the Department of Justice, 1 sentence, for his role in protecting national assets under immediate threat. No parade, no press. Just ink that speaks volumes. Ben, our youngest, didn't say much, but a few days later, he applied to the Air Force Academy. I didn't ask why. I already knew. People talk about heroism like it's some grand choice. But sometimes it just shows up at your garage door in fake uniforms and gives you 1 chance to stand between danger and the ones you love. We didn't ask for this. But when the silence broke and the door trembled, we stood our ground. So now I ask you, what would you have done? Called 911 and waited? Or stood in that doorway, knowing the fight was yours alone? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about lines, loyalty, and what it really means to defend a home when the threat doesn't knock, it infiltrates.